probably got some Robert Redford comparisons in your day, I'm guessing, Mr. Young.
And we're live stream on my Facebook page at the same time. So we're connected around the world.
How about that?
So, hey, this weather we've been having has really been phenomenal.
Oh.
I don't want it to end, but I know it will. It's that time of year in Pennsylvania, and fall is going to fall on us sooner or later.
Yes.
Folks, I'm Tom Young. I'm the financial coach here at WBBP, WMBA. And I don't know how to say this, but, last week we lost an icon. I want to offer prayers for today's show and a special prayer for Charlie Kirk. The man was a man of influence in a very, very positive way around the world. And it is now showing because people are responding and standing up for the message that he had. We pray for America, protect our president. I don't know whether you like Donald Trump or not. I'm not here to talk about his personality. I'm here to worry about America and somebody that has the ability to do something to fix some of the things that are going wrong in America. So we pray for Ukraine and those folks over there in Israel. And we pray for everybody, those that are sick and ill. God bless everybody. In Jesus' name we pray. It's funny, Scott. I'm preparing for today's show. I've really taken on a mantra in my practice called efficiency of money. And in that, let me explain what I mean by that. Efficiency of money means I want to be as efficient as I can with my money. I want to lose the least amount of my money. I want to make good decisions that are going to work long term. I don't make knee-jerk reactions to things that are going on in the financial marketplace and what's going on in those ways. So I want to make sure that I'm as efficient as I can be. And I put the title of today's show, tying up to talking about life insurance. Life insurance, is it a ripoff? Is it a blessing? There are so many things. Now, the month of September in America is called Life Insurance Month. So you're going to see a lot of advertising this month about life insurance and whether you should own it, what kind. And so let me start off by talking about there are only two kinds of life insurance. There is whole life insurance that have its guarantees that are involved in that product. And then there is term insurance. Term insurance is temporary. You rent the death benefit for a period of time. You can buy annual renewable term. You can buy 5-year renewable term, 10-year renewable, 20-year term, 15-year term. And all that means is the premium is set and fixed for that specific period of time. And then after that, either the product would end or the premium will adjust to a new rate. And I find in those kind of products, generally that when it renews after 10 years or 20 years, the premium is so high that you're not going to renew it. You're not going to go on. And the insurance company has given you this big discount for a period of time because you had to qualify to get the product medically, had to prove you were in good health and that type of thing. And at the same time, they know health is going to change, so they adjust things directly in that way. So there are two kinds of insurance companies, two kinds of product, two kinds of insurance companies.
Okay.
One type of company, they are corporations that are owned by stockholders. Now, if you're a corporation and you're operating under that status, under that structure, who benefits from the profit of the company? Scott, you?
Stockholders.
Absolutely, stockholders. So it's not you. Now, the other type of company is a dividend-paying mutual life insurance company, and those companies are owned by the policyholders. Okay, fraternal companies operate under that type of structure where the policyholders actually are owners of the company in their structure. Now, how important is that? Let's talk about well, how many insurance companies are out there? There's about 850 companies in America that sell some kind of life insurance.
Oh.
Out of that 850 or so companies, 99.8% of those companies are what kind, Scott? What do you think?
The corporation.
Corporations with stockholders,
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And who buys all the advertising to get you to think the way they want you to think? Those corporations.
So when I'm watching a football game and I see a commercial for life insurance, it's got to be one of those
very
corporations.
very little advertising is done by mutual insurance companies because they have to be responsible for policyholders' money. There's no stockholders, there's nobody dragging profit out of the company, so there has to be a balance between what they would spend on advertising and that and running the company. And so a dividend-paying mutual life insurance company is really a key to understanding this, because the chance of you, the consumer out there, finding this kind of company is 1 out of 100 in talking to people. And agents are trained to sell product. I went through that. I've been at this 49 years, and I have been through that. I was a great salesman in the beginning. I led the office. I sold more policies than everybody else. And over a period of time, I had to settle. Just a quick story. Early in my career, in my first year in the business, I had a young man named John, his wife Beverly, and they had a brand new baby. Baby was born, I think, October of the year. I met them right after that, right around Christmas. Now, John's father was a State Farm insurance agent, but father-in-law didn't like daughter-in-law. So I don't know why. All I know is what I saw is John had a $10,000 life policy, but there was nothing on Beverly, nothing on the new baby. So I wrote a family policy when I was there. So it was 10 more on John, and it was 10 on Beverly, and 5 on the baby. So it was a policy, a family-type policy. And it wasn't maybe 5-6 months later, I think it was April or May, I was in the office at Beaver Falls, and all of a sudden I walk in, and my sales manager was on the phone, and he looked kind of emotional. And he looked at me, and he says, "Come here." And so he hung up the phone. He said, that was the Johnsons, that's not their name, but and their baby died yesterday.
Whoa.
I don't know how to explain that. But it wasn't crib death, it was viral pneumonia is what it was. And the doctor said you could have brought the baby yesterday, they wouldn't have been able to save the baby. And John worked at the power plant as a security guard, and they'd had an early dinner, he went to work, and Beverly was in the kitchen. And I guess it was an hour or two later she went in, and the baby had passed in the crib in the living room. But I had to go deliver that check. A lot of things happened, and I remember going there. We all cried a little bit. I left that check for $5,000, which meant nothing based on what had happened there. But it changed me.
I can see why.
Sorry.
No, I get it.
So time went on, and I fell in love with the business. Went through a bad period. 35 years ago, I had a lawsuit, and I've shared this information, so this isn't new. It was an $800,000 lawsuit. Long story short, it lasted 3.5 years, almost destroyed me. I was $500,000 in debt because I didn't write any business. I lost all my confidence. And at the deposition, I was released after the deposition because the client was referred to me by my CPA's son, who worked in that office, and they were doing these crazy tax shelter things. And that was what this was all. All I sold the guy was a life insurance policy that he eventually canceled. He was a single guy from Steubenville, owned several real estate investments, and they held him out to be that he was a snowy white non-investor, didn't know anything, and all this. So they ended up, the lawsuit went after the CPA, but when I was released, I was $500,000 in debt. and didn't know which way to go. I had joined the Amway business because I thought the insurance career was over. And what I learned about the Amway business, it isn't about selling soap to your neighbors. A lot of people think that. It's a sales business. Yes, it is. We all get sold every day. You go to the grocery store, whatever. Being a salesman is a career. Mm-hmm. And you can either be a good salesman or a bad salesman. I wanted to be whatever I was doing, I wanted to be the best I could be at what I was doing. And I was fortunate enough, I hooked up with a guy named Jody Victor, whose mother and father were two of the original 9 people in 1952 that started Nutrilite, that became Amway in 1959. And Jody took me under his arm and under his wing, and he said to me one day, I told him about all this money that I owed, and he said, do you want to fix it or do you want to quit? I says, there's no quit in my DNA. Now, I don't even know where that came from that day. I mean, I read a lot of positive growth books and that. So out of my mind came, there's no quit in my DNA. He said, okay, you take my coaching and do what I tell you. He says, we can fix this thing. And over time, everybody got paid back. I got out of it. And it's been a long, long journey. Now, all of that being said, let me say this, folks. You're listening to me. What I learned in that process, you could not buy that education. Does it make sense to you what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I could not go to a college and learn what I learned working with this man. Yesterday was his birthday, and so I wished him a happy birthday this morning. So it's just ironic that here I am, 49 years in this business. Eventually, I rose to the direct distributor level at the Amway business. But my heart wasn't in it. And actually, eventually, I went back to the insurance business. And I got to say, maybe 25 years ago, my whole mental paralysis stopped, and I started to understand what I do. And I serve people for a living. Let me ask you a question, folks. I'll ask this to Scott. If I could provide for you life insurance that is guaranteed to pay when you die, it doesn't cost you any out-of-pocket cost, and it's guaranteed. It has cash value that you could use tax-free along the way to avoid borrowing at the bank and doing other things that lose you money over your lifetime. And you could get that with no additional out-of-pocket cost. Scott, how much would you want?
Oh, you mentioned 10,000. I don't know. For some reason, that number jumps into my head.
How much would you want? Life insurance. You have a family?
No, just me and the wife.
No, just you and the wife.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, would you want your wife taken care of if something happened to you?
Of course.
You have that kind of love and commitment in your household?
Certainly do.
You understand that?
Yeah.
So there is a maximum amount that you can get. It's called economic human life value.
Okay.
Now, what is that? You have a house, Scott? You own a home?
Rent.
You rent.
Rent a home.
If you owned a home, well, even as a renter, I would assume you have renter insurance.
Right.
That covers your belongings in there
Certainly.
and liability, et cetera. If you're a homeowner, you insure the home. And how much do you insure the home for?
My wife pays that. I don't know.
What it would cost to replace it? The same with your contents and
Right.
your renter's insurance. What would it cost to replace all of my belongings? And so that is what it is. Now,
Right.
If I'm a working man, I got a wife and I got a family and I got kids and I got, maybe I make $100,000 a year. So at work, I got $100,000 of coverage at work or $50,000 at work. And that's what I got. And the question would be, okay, well, if something happened to you, how long would that last your wife? Because she still has to keep paying the bills and the mortgage payment and all of that stuff. How long would that last?
Yeah, you would want it more than 1 year's salary, I would think.
I would think so. And that's where economic human life value comes in, because the insurance company will not allow you to over-insure. There's a limit you can buy. You can't over-insure. That would be, against the risk against the company in the insurance business. So economic human life value is really the most important thing. Now, I talk about this to everybody that I meet. That doesn't mean you have to buy that much, but it's my obligation as a life insurance professional, as a financial professional, to make you aware to have the proper amount of insurance, because if you're the father, the mother, whatever if you're the goose that's laying the golden eggs, do you want to insure the goose or do you want to insure the eggs that have already been created? I want to insure the goose. And so that's sort of what we're talking about in doing this. Now, this all leads me because everybody's saying, oh, Tom, life insurance. Well, you know, we get snowed under. And I think we need to take a break. We have break time. Let's take a break, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to knock your socks off. So don't go away because I'm going to show you what the banks and the rich people are doing, and they're telling us not to do it.
And I'm going to ask your advice on how you find the life insurance agent you're looking for.
Very good. I've got that answer too, Scott.
All right, stay tuned. More coming up with Tom Young, First Consultants.
It might be time to repair or replace that old garage door. Call on Robin and her team of expert installers at Electric Garage Door Sales in Monaca. Dial 724-774-3200 and your door will work like a charm. Featuring CHI quality garage doors, LiftMaster garage door openers, and over 50 years experience, Robin and her team will get it done right. Electric Garage Door Sales. Give them a call at 724-774-3200 or find them online at electricgaragedoorsales.com.
J. Young Refuse and Industry is proud to be an integral part of Beaver County for the past 36 years. Featuring a wide range of recycling services for contracted areas, they are sure to help you get the job done. The J. Young Refuse team of professional drivers consistently exceed safety and service throughout the day, while their customer service representatives take professionalism to the next level. J. Young Refuse offers both commercial and residential pickup as well. Call J. Young Refuse at 724-495-6199 today.
Character becomes a part of everything we do. It's who we are. And McGee Heating and Air Conditioning's good character has been at the forefront of the service they've offered for generations now. Dedication, honesty, and talent are a part of everything they do. So if it's keeping you cool or keeping you warm, McGee has what it takes to do the right thing. Call McGee Heating and Air Conditioning. Family owned and operated, Main Street in Aliquippa.
Moon Township Ford, representing the neighborhood Ford stores, proudly presents Military Expo. Sea, air, land, space, Pennsylvania Patriots serving you. Moon Township Ford, representing the neighborhood Ford stores, invites you to attend the special free admission event on September 20th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Beaver County Airport, 35 Piper Street, Beaver Falls. See interactive displays to showcase several types of military equipment, all designed to increase awareness of the missions of all military service branches and to aid in recruiting and retention. The Military Expo, Saturday, September 20th at the Beaver County Airport. Presented by Moon Township Ford, representing the neighborhood Ford stores, where friends send friends. Also sponsored in part by McClellan's Roofing, Community College of Beaver County, and Moon Township Honda.
Falcone's Moon Township Ford, where friends send friends.
Close-up and touch impressive displays of current military equipment with personnel from all branches of service available for live demonstrations. Food and drink available. The Pennsylvania Military Expo, Saturday, September 20th. All presented by your friends at Moon Township Ford, where friends send friends.
Al's Corner is not just for gas. That's right. They offer gas, of course, but also fresh food and snacks every day. Let Al's do the cooking. They make fresh subs on their homemade bread daily. They offer hot foods like tacos, fish on Friday, plus wraps, salads, and more. Whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, make a visit to Al's Corner in Koppel. Call Al's today to place your order. Make your football party be the envy of your family and friends. Follow them on Facebook for their daily specials. That's Al's Corner on the corner off Route 18 and 351 in Koppel.
Looking for a great job opportunity? McDonald's now has full-time and part-time positions available to fit your lifestyle and needs. Set your own hours and have a lot of fun too. Whatever the situation is, McDonald's has a place for you. Apply today at McHire.com. McDonald's is here for you. I'm loving it.
9:24 a.m. Thanks for spending part of your morning with us here at the Beaver County Radio Morning Show. Scott Tatey here. We're joined in studio by Tom Young of First Consultants. We're talking life insurance. You can also follow us on our Facebook page, Beaver County Radio's Facebook page, and you, Tom, on your Facebook page as well. You got your camera.
Yeah, there it is. It's on firstconsultantsinc.com. Tom Young on Facebook page. You know, folks, we talk about this, and if you want to get a hold of me, no obligation. I always challenge people to come sit for 40 minutes. I'm not going to ask you to buy a thing, and there won't be another meeting unless you desire it. But I can share with you principles and information that you have never seen or heard of before. It's just the nature of what's going on. So if we look at the marketplace, And there are people out there that would say, never buy whole life insurance, blah, blah, blah. And there's the universal life insurance salespeople out there, which is, in my terms, that you lose because it's term insurance and a savings fund. And the idea is you can buy insurance cheaper so you pay the least amount. And then as you get older, what happens to the cost of insurance? The older you become, the more expensive it gets. And a universal life policy, it eats up all the cash value. And eventually they keep telling you to pay more and more and more. And eventually you drop the policy. Well, then there was VUL, Variable Universal Life, in the 90s when the stock market was going gangbusters during the decade of the 90s. But remember what happened in 2001. It was the bust of the dot-com boom went bust. So that was the VUL, Variable. So your cash value was in the stock market. And now they have IUL, Indexed Universal Life. So it tracks an index of the stock market, but your money's not in the stock market. I guess it's an alternative to, if you're a stock market type of investor, to buy life insurance that way. A lot of it is promoted. Now, all of these things I'm talking about are generally stock insurance companies. They're the stockholders' insurance companies, not mutual companies. And they promote, well, you can get tax-free income in retirement and blah, blah, blah. But the problem is here you are, you save all this money in this indexed universal life. You get to retirement, 65 or 70, now you start drawing income off of that, and it doesn't make a lot of money. And when you're 80 years old, the thing runs out of money and the policy lapses. It crashes. Well, when that policy crashes, you have a mountain of tax problem because the gain in that contract becomes taxable right now. So it's a tax explosion at the back end. And the people that are selling these products are not sharing this information with the clients. They're not telling them the truth about this stuff. So it looks good. It really does. It looks great. But there are cracks in the concrete, so to speak. And eventually, if a crack in the concrete over years, what's going to happen? It's going to continue to deteriorate. So now I look at that and I say, well, what are the wealthy people doing? They buy permanent dividend paying life insurance. What are the banks doing? Well, let me share something with you. I got a list here. Now, these are banks: Bank of America, J.P. Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, U.S. Bank, BNY Mellon, PNC Bank, KeyBank, Huntington Bank, which is a local bank. It's a regional bank here in town. Example, Huntington Bank, their Tier 1 capital. Tier 1 capital in the bank is the pure reserve of the bank. And that money cannot be loaned out. It can't be invested. It has to be kept in the most absolute safe position without risk. And isn't it interesting where some of this money is stored? Huntington Bank, $3.292 billion of Tier 1 assets, 40% of that money is in cash value life insurance, in the kind of life insurance we're talking about. Bank of America, they're worth $149 billion. $21.48 billion are in life insurance cash value. J.P. Morgan, they're worth $179 billion in Tier 1 capital, $10.10 billion in cash value life insurance. Am I making my point, folks? In other words, there was a lie going on out there to get you to buy their stuff, when the truth is verifiable and mathematically provable. If you want to learn the truth, I have a program. One of my mentors, Don Blanton, and you had asked earlier about how do I find these people that do this correctly? There are only 3 programs that are out there, and one is Circle of Wealth. I would ask my advisor, what software, what are you using to help me? And one of them is Circle of Wealth. Another one is Truth Concept Software. That's Todd Langford, whom I've known for 35 years. He originated the original software for a program called Leap, which was the premier program, but it's now taken over by an insurance company. And I don't promote it because it's a closed account. You have to be an agent with that company. I don't like those kind of rules. And then the other one, very simply, is Infinite Banking Concept. If you have not read R. Nelson Nash's book, The Infinite Banking Concept, you're missing out, folks, because we're talking about basic principles of how to manage your money. you can go to PEMLife.org, PEMLIFE.org, and buy a course. Don't spend money with me, but spend $99. And if you take this course and you prove to me you took all the course and passed all the classes, and you come back to me and say this didn't help me at all, I'll give you $200 back. I'll give you $99 double back if you do this. So it is a personal economic model, lessons in financial efficiency. Remember efficiency?
That's your mantra this month.
At the University of Florida, their personal financial program is this. Don Blanton, my buddy, created this, and it's part of the stuff that I do. I use Circle of Wealth. I use Truth Concepts, which are software that verifies and proves everything we do.
Now, at the onset, you said there are two types of insurance, the whole life insurance and the term life insurance. Is there an example where, for somebody, term might be the best choice? When you're younger with a family, remember economic human life value? I write a lot of term insurance on younger people, but term insurance with a mutual company is convertible. So over time, I can exchange it without ever having to prove medical again. Your health can go bad and change. We'll get into some specifics of that when we come back after the news. I think it's 9:30, so I'm already a minute into the news time. That's all right.
So we'll be back after
I like
the
your
news.
efficiency.
Beaver County Radio's news source. 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. Here's Noah Haswell.
Good morning. On this Tuesday, September 16th of 2025, we will have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. Robert Redford has died at 89. The Hollywood Golden Boy, who became an Oscar-winning director, liberal activist, and godfather for independent cinema, died in Utah today. His publicist didn't provide a cause of death immediately. After rising to stardom in the 1960s, Redford was one of the biggest stars of the 70s with such films as The Candidate, All the President's Men, and The Way We Were. Redford played the wily outlaw opposite Paul Newman in 1969's Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid, a box office smash from which Redford's Sundance Institute and Festival got its name. And now, according to a Facebook post on Saturday from the City of Aliquippa Police Department, there have been recent phone scams going on in the Beaver County area. The scammers who are calling state to victims that bank officials and employees and others are trying to steal their money out of their accounts, and the scammers try to persuade them to go to the bank and withdraw thousands of dollars. The City of Aliquippa Police Department suggests that if you feel that you experienced a legitimate scam call, either see your local police department in person or call your local police department at their phone number that is listed. You should also not give any of your personal information to these scammers or obey their instructions because this is a scam. Pennsylvania State Police in Newcastle report that 44-year-old Jason Fronius of Newcastle was arrested for possessing drugs in Newcastle on September 1st, 2025. According to police, a traffic stop on a pedal cycle was attempted in the area of West Grant Street that day. However, Fronius fled and was subsequently apprehended after a short foot pursuit. Charges against Fronius will be filed against him. 20-year-old Rocchio Vespasiani of Aliquippa was a suspect who performed a sexual act on himself in his vehicle, which the public saw at the Marathon gas station on Broadhead Road in Aliquippa on September 6, 2025. The report of Vespasiani doing this act was given to the City of Aliquippa Police Department that evening. Vespasiani was taken into custody and is in the Beaver County Jail with misdemeanor charges of open lewdness and indecent exposure filed against him. PennDOT will host a job fair today from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the PennDOT Beaver County Maintenance Building at 155 Stewart Avenue in Rochester for the public to learn about positions that are available for the PennDOT Beaver County Winter Maintenance Program. The positions for this job fair include seasonal tradesman helpers, seasonal temp to permanent commercial driver's license operators, diesel mechanics, and winter dispatchers. CDL positions require a driver's license and a medical examiner certificate that is current to apply, while all other positions need an appropriate form of identification to apply. Conditional job offers for select positions, interviews that are on the spot, application completion on site, and driving skills testing will also occur, while on-hand recruitment staff from Pennsylvania will be at the PennDOT Job Fair today in Rochester to talk about the current openings for jobs in PennDOT winter maintenance in Beaver County.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Mostly sunny today. We'll see highs near 82 and overnight lows around 56. Sunny again tomorrow. Look for highs near 80 and lows of 55. And more sunshine expected on Thursday. We'll reach highs in the mid-80s and lows in the mid-50s. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Tuesday, September 16th of 2025 at 35 minutes after 9, we've got a temperature of 66 degrees currently in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Noah Haswell on 99.3 FM, AM 1230 WBVP, 95.7 FM, and 1460 AM WMBA. Also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Everybody knows that credit unions are a better deal because they are nonprofit and member-owned institutions. But did you know that at Freedom United Federal Credit Union, we have over 150 sponsor groups and almost 7,000 members? This is Kaylin Smith, and I just discovered some of this myself. I'll bet you didn't know that all of our members receive an automatic $3,000 accidental death life insurance policy just for joining our family. It is true. You really can get something for nothing. Here's another fun fact. The Rochester office on Adams Street used to be home to the American Legion, and that's where all those fabled Legion dances took place. Whatever the reason, come see us today. Freedom United Federal Credit Union, where the interest is in you. Member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Can tuning into a radio show really change your life? It can when you listen to Beaver County Radio in the 9 o'clock hour, the third Tuesday of every month. Tom Young from First Consultants in Beaver will be the special guest expert and talk about how managing and thinking about the money you already have can potentially create financial freedom for many of you. You can also watch the live video stream of the show on the WBVP WMBA Facebook page. Exactly what we're doing right now. Streaming Tom Young joining us from First Consultants. Today's topic is life insurance, and you were getting ready to make some important points there. So,
let's talk about actuarial science. Why would the Federal Reserve promote and allow banks to store their Tier 1 capital in these life insurance policies we're talking about? What I do know is in 150 plus years in America, there's been life insurance companies that have come and went. The dividend-paying mutual companies are the only companies that I know are over 100 years old. Now, there's a statement in that.
Okay.
Local company, GCU, I do business with annuities, the Greek Catholic Union. They've been around since 1884.
And those are the ones where the policyholders are
That's correct.
in charge.
That's correct. That's a GCU is a fraternal company, okay? And I do a lot of annuity business with them. They're good at that. No fees, and the current interest rate is over 5% on their products, and they're just a great company and been around a long time. But actuarial science, now what is an actuary? Now in my mind, Tom's mind, an actuary is a CPA with an engineering degree, if you get my understanding to the depth of that, because they look at spreadsheets that might be 1,000 columns, and they're looking at tens of millions of lives to determine how many are going to die, how many are going to get sick, and they create some very accurate numbers. If you're looking at tens of millions of lives to determine how many people are going to die this year at a given age, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the scary thing, if they could put a name on it, we hope that never happens, but I don't want to go there. But
I guess a little sci-fi there.
But actuarial science, the same thing applies to homeowners. You know, how many homes are going to burn, natural disasters and all that. So they use statistics, actuarial science to determine that. Because of that, if you look at banks, tier one assets in banks are typically investment grade bonds or government treasury bonds. Remember that tier one money has to be absolutely safe. Can't be invested, can't be put at risk, et cetera, et cetera. So life insurance companies use actuarial science, and they're basically invested in investment grade bonds and treasury bonds and those kind of guaranteed products. But bonds have maturity dates. And if I hold the bond to maturity date, regardless of whatever interest they're paying me, I will get my money back. So what an actuary does at an insurance company, they look at this claims experience that they're projecting by looking at millions of lives and saying they can determine how much money they're going to need in any year in the future to pay claims. So when they do that and they invest their money, premiums that we pay in, they buy bonds with maturity dates that coincide with the claims. So they never get caught with their pants down, so to speak. Now let's take that a step further. If you remember 2 years ago, we were coming off a period of 12 to 15 years of near zero interest rates. The Federal Reserve rate, the federal bank rate for banks, member banks, was 0.25%, which fed fractional banking in miraculous ways. Now, what is fractional banking? You and I put $1 in the bank. They're going to loan that dollar out to somebody else. We know that, okay? That's why if everybody went to the bank and said, I want my money, how much you going to get, Scott? Maybe nickel to 10 cents on the dollar, okay? Because all that money's loaned out to other people. So they loan that dollar out to somebody else for a mortgage, for a home equity loan, whatever but the bank requires collateral. You can't get a loan at the bank unless you got collateral. Now, you got credit cards, that's why they charge 20% plus interest rate with no collateral. So you go to a bank, you got to have collateral. When you give them their collateral, if you buy a car, whose name's on the title? They didn't mail you the title, Scott. The title went to the bank, and they're holding it in a box.
They are.
Okay? They own your car.
Yeah.
So they take that collateral that you put up to get the loan, and they go to the Federal Reserve window, and they use that collateral to borrow money from the Federal Reserve. And they can get 95 cents on the dollar on average for that collateral. So they got 95 cents on the dollar to loan out a second time. Second loan, for whatever it is, you're going to get collateral. They take the collateral to the Federal Reserve window, and they get 95 cents on the dollar on average to loan it out a third time. You getting the picture, Scott? Mm-hmm. They turn that dollar on average 7 times. That's why there is no money. And the Federal Reserve right now is in trouble. I'll say it that way. They're losing billions monthly. They are printing money behind closed doors and providing liquidity to banks. They're not accountable to anybody. So nobody really knows what's going on, but we know they're doing this because some of the programs that they have done in the past. When the SVB Bank went under in California, when they first raised the interest rates, I don't know, it jumped up to like 4% in the very beginning, where they were going to quell inflation. Inflation was going out of control. So the bank's Federal Reserve's way of controlling inflation is they raise interest rates, which slows down the economy. People lose their jobs. See, that is wrong. Donald Trump proved in his first term that growth does not create inflation. Growth eliminates inflation, and so now you got these two sides of the coin. But that inflation that's going on is caused by the Federal Reserve printing money. Now, the SVB Bank, the Silicon Valley Bank, was the 12th largest bank in the U.S. They went under. Now, there's FDIC insurance out there that protects depositors up to $250,000. Do you know how many deposits there are that are protected by FDIC insurance?
In percentage? Or?
$7 trillion of deposits in America.
Wow.
Do you know how much money is in the Federal Reserve Bank Reserve to protect these depositors? About $400 billion.
So billion versus trillion.
7 trillion deposits. and $400 billion is the reserves in the Federal Reserve.
Not enough.
So the SVB Bank, because of the location of the bank, you can imagine the size of some of the depositors that were there, Silicon Valley, and the Federal Reserve. They bailed out the rich depositors. They put up another $185 billion to bail out other depositors in that bank. So what was the precedent that sent? If banks are going to fail, and I think that is a possibility right now with the Federal Reserve and the whole system in turmoil right now with what's going on, if the banks fail, a couple of years ago when COVID, some of the tax law along with COVID, created a law called the bail-in law. So if a bank gets in trouble, they can abscond with up to 10% of your deposits in the bank. Let me say that again. If the bank gets in trouble, this is called the bail-in law. And if the bank gets in trouble and they need money, they can legally take up to 10% of your deposits in your bank out of your bank account to protect the bank.
I never knew that.
Didn't know that.
They don't publicize that, do they?
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
So this is stuff that's going on, okay? So the actuarial science, and it's what makes life insurance companies the correct companies that do it correctly with whole life insurance, dividend-paying mutual whole life insurance. It is a product that is unique because it has cash value. And usually that policy, after the first year or two, because there are three big costs to a life insurance policy. Number one is a commission they pay. I make a commission in the first year. And then a very small investment type percentage after that when people continue to pay the premium. Early death claims. I had a client about 3-4 years ago. I won't mention their name. They were a couple in their mid-50s. And at the end of the day, they got on the motorcycle and rode, if you get my meaning. And down in Industry, I don't know if you remember this, there were two people on a motorcycle and a young gal, 17, pulled out in front of them. And they were both killed. They were one of my largest clients. Their policies was only 4 years old. Was over $5 million. The premium was $40,000 a year. So how much money? 4 times 40 is $160,000 of premium paid, and the insurance company paid out over $5 million. So early death claims do happen, and I could talk about a dozen of them that I've experienced in my 45 years. And the other one is the operation of the insurance company. They got to pay people's salary and the workers and everybody that works there. But if you look at a ledger that's designed properly, by the end of the second year, generally in the third year, pretty close, if I pay in $10,000, I'm going to have a $10,000 increase in my cash value. So where did the cost of my insurance go? Interesting, isn't that? Yeah. And by the 10th year, I've got now, if I cashed it out, I can get back 100% of what I paid into the policy if I cashed it out. And it only continues to grow and get bigger and bigger from there. And I always have access with a signature, and I have a policy that's 37 years old. Premium was $3,300 a year. In my young days, I bought this policy. I have used that policy as collateral. See, I have a collateral loan availability, a cash flow, okay, with the insurance company. That I can go to the insurance company any day I want and say, look, I want to borrow $10,000, and with a signature, they'll send me a check or deposit it in 3 or 4 days into my checking account. Do I have to pay it back? No. They're holding my cash value as collateral, but I want to be an honest banker, and that's the infinite banking concept, is understanding that efficiencies of money, people lose money over their lifetime unknowingly and unnecessarily in simply the way we do things. And who taught us to do what we do? The financial institutions that make money off of us. There was an article I read the other day that you go to the bank and they promote everybody to put money into their savings account. And what's their savings account paying? 0.1, 0.4, 0.5. A lot of them, they're not even paying 1% interest. They want you to put your money there so they can loan it out to other people 7 times and make money. The banks make a lot of money. But so we look at life insurance in a very, very unique way. And I always tell people when they come to see me, You can't get lost if you already are. The information that we have all heard over our lifetime promotes the financial world the way we see it. There are 4 rules that the financial world has. Number 1, I want all your money. I want more ongoing. I want to keep it forever, and I want to give back as little as possible. And if you let that sink in a little bit, and we change the way we think, what we see is an interpretation of the mind. We have to train the mind to interpret what we see. We are all brainwashed. We are all brainwashed by the news media, the news media, educational system. If you don't believe me, look up the Fabian Society. Go to the internet, put in Fabian Society, and you'll find that goes back to 1890, and it was a couple of military people in Europe, and Europe was all about socialism back in that time, and they wanted to bring socialism to the world, and I guess that's really what the big war in America is going on right now. This Mamdani guy in New York and stuff going on. We need to wake people up. I think Charlie Kirk was one of the people that was waking people up, and they assassinated him. I'm not afraid. My heart belongs to Jesus Christ, and what I do, I try every day. I do what I believe is the right thing to do every day of my life, and helping people find their way to end up with the most they can have. I have all these initials after my name, so I've taken all the courses that are offered through American College and beyond that. And what I learned in all of that was what they taught me to do was how to get your money, Scott, and turn it over to the financial world. Oh, don't worry, they're going to take good care of your money. You know, I also have investment managers. I don't manage people's money. I set them up with managers that have good track records that have done well managing money. But even with that, with the stock market at an all-time high right now, over time, maybe this year you're doing really good, but if you look over a long period of time, what's your average rate of return? You took all that risk to end up with 4, 5, 6% rate of return, and I can show you how to make 8, 10, 12, 15% rate of return by managing your money like a businessman. There lies my book, The CFO Project, The Family Money Farm, The CFO Project. You can get that book and my newer book, The Family Money Farm, Financial Mastery Coaching, The Blueprint, as a bonus book by going to CFO-project.com. Put in your name and address, name and email, and you'll get a link. And in that link, you can download cover to cover both of my books. Come on, folks. I'm just sitting here trying to share with you what I have actually learned over my career. And that's really what it's all about. Anybody challenges me, since 1987, when I did my first shows on Teleforum. You weren't around, Scott. This was 1987. Chris Shovelin, WBBB, WMBA in Beaver Falls. When I started my first radio shows, when I was in it goes back a long time. So I've been off and on here a long, long time.
A lot of people owe you a debt, I'm sure. For that.
But I still have my $1,000 cash challenge. If anything that I say or promote or show people, I have to be able to prove it mathematically. It isn't some opinion. If it's my opinion, I will tell you it's my opinion and where that opinion emanates from. But if you can disprove anything that I say, you can win $1,000 cash. But don't bring Aunt Mary's ideas or Billy Bob from work, somebody else's opinion. Bring your calculator because you must disprove what I'm talking about. And in how many years is that, Scott? Since 1987?
37. Right?
That's
going on 38.
47, 46
40,
years.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Okay, and I've never had a challenger over all that time. Never had a challenger. Folks, one last bit here. We're running out of time. Last month, the U.S. debt was $37.290 trillion a month ago. Now it's $37,485 billion. That's a $195 billion increase in 1 month. times 12 months, that's 1.95 trillion. That's $2 trillion. At 4%, which is the 10-year Treasury interest rate on the debt, the interest on the debt is $1.499 trillion. Folks, how long can the government continue to do what's going on? Are you prepared? I'm not saying when it's going to happen, but I truly, truly believe the reckoning is at hand. And I pray for everybody. I pray for America. And what we need to do as a society. Things that are going on right now in the government, and one political party is they're cheering the illegals and all of the criminal activity, protect those people, and I don't know where we've come in our society at this point in time. So I'm really concerned in my own mind about where things are going. Again, if you want to learn without obligation, you go to PEMLife.org, PEMLIFE.org, and you'll get lessons in financial efficiency. Again, this is a program that was developed, and it's the personal financial program at the University of Florida. I understand there's a couple of universities in Texas that are teaching this. But it's like 16 lessons. You have to complete them all. The cost is like $88. And so what are we doing? Do you really want to be successful? Are you willing to change? Are you willing to do what you need to do? I'm Tom Young. You can reach me at 724-728-6820. Give yourself an opportunity to come and listen to the truth. God bless. We'll see you here next month.
Thank you, Tom, for the thought-provoking conversation and advice.
Thank you.
Bring your favorite